Hey there everybody, I'm Wyatt, and today we're going to be taking a look at this special book from Pixar called Funny! 25 Years of Laughter from the Pixar Story Room. Alright, time to crack this book open. Now it is a little bit of an older book. Why do I have this? It was originally released back in 2015, but I recently just ran into it at a bookstore, and I really wanted to take a look at it and crack it open and show you guys what it's all about. So for those of you who may not know, in animation especially, but in comics and film, but especially in animation, there are what are called storyboards or a story room. It usually kind of, whether it's an entire room or just like a small department, depends on the studio, but in general, there are storyboards. And basically, those are the people that take the written words that are from the script and translate it to visuals. Sometimes the writers will simply say, they'll give more of an outline of the story, and then they'll leave specific story moments and gags and visual jokes and stuff for the storyboard. But anyway, enough history, enough that kind of stuff. Let's crack this open. Now this is a really well done book, and especially for somebody like me who I do work mostly in illustration and in comics, but I have done some storyboarding and some story work before. And then of course, if you look at a lot of cartoonists' sketchbooks and everything, that's this is what it looks like. We just really quickly scribble everything. And one key thing about being a storyboard artist, or story artist as they're often called nowadays, personally I like that term a lot better. It's just a lot quicker and a little bit more broad. Anyway, the thing about story artists is that you are working so fast and working so quickly that you can't really have time to grow attached to your work, basically. If you spend hours and hours and hours, meticulously drawing every single image and every single thing, you wind up getting attached to it. But with story artists, with storyboards and animation in general, there's constant rewrites and constant, fiddling around and messing with stuff. So you just have to be very quick. Just, the character is smiling and is happy, is pointing at something or making a point about something. You need to be very quick and very scribbly just to get your point across. We'll worry about the details later, or at least the visual details later, but right now we need to know the core emotion and the core story point of what is going on in the scene. And so that's why you have to work very strongly and very quickly. And then of course, because a lot of it gets thrown out, it basically just saves time. So you're not spending all of this time working on something that's going to get thrown out anyways. So just very quickly, yeah, we like that. Very quickly, no, we don't like that. Throw it out. Okay, throw it out. Replace it. So anyway, that was a little peek in the process, and now we're looking at some of the different visual gags that came from the story room for the Pixar films specifically. And then right now, this is more or less chronological in here. There's a few. There's a couple breaks in the chronology. So, for example, Toy Story 2 didn't come out after Toy Story. A Bug's Life came in between there. But it starts with Toy Story since that was their first film. So it's partially chronological and then partially franchise-based in terms of organization in the book. And you see a lot of great stuff, and especially here, since one of the big points of Toy Story 2 was, it turns out that Woody was a very popular TV character and TV puppet, and so he's got all this merchandise where he's eating Pez from another Woody. He's got a gumball machine. At some point Jesse spits on him. Major plot point. Moving. And you'll see a lot of different visual gags like that too throughout here. Even just small stuff like this, like, you know, what if you know, Buzz has like a sealed tight helmet, so it just collects all that water, and he just has to open it every now and then. And then we get to look at Toy Story 3. So here are some very early ideas of Bonnie, and you know what it would have been like playing in her room. And you'll see a lot of these too, where ultimately the gag was never used, but since Jessie's hair is made of yarn, what if she just like unwound all of her hair and they used it as like a repelling wire or something? And a nice naked Woody. I'm trying to keep this video kid-friendly, Pixar, come on. And then some more Toy Story 3 gags. And this is a personal favorite of mine, where, so of course Toy Story is all about toys coming to life. Would that extend to video games? Now obviously Wreck-It Ralph kind of carried that out eventually. But here, instead of the game, what if the console itself was alive? So you've got this Game Boy wandering around angrily just because he's been chewed up. And then in A Bug's Life, and this is Joe Ranft. This was and this is another great thing about this book, and then art books in general. But here it gives a whole little paragraph discussing A Bug's Life and what was kind of going on through their minds when they were making the movie. And Joe Ranft, apparently, according to this and some of his other work in here, he had a very kind of a dark sense of humor. And this actually wound up becoming, not this gag specifically, but it was sort of reused in the mural scene, or whenever the little kids are like like putting on the play and have the little mural and everything for the warrior bugs. The line from Dot is like, you know, we drew one of you dying because our teacher said it would be more dramatic. That's where that idea from the mural came from. Yeah. And then just some more scribbles and ideas. And ultimately, one of the reasons why I love story artists and being a story artist, you know, even though I don't do the work that often, one of the reasons I love it is just because you get to work so quickly, it really becomes a stream of conscious. I think that's the proper term of it, where basically you're just letting the ideas flow naturally from your hand. You're not worrying too much about, you know, does this make sense, or, you know, will this even get into the film, or will this even get into the show or the comic or whatever it is you're working on. You're just having fun. You know, you're just drawing stuff. And so here we start getting into Monsters, Inc. and different ideas, and then of course a couple of these made it, or at least that one made it in. And then the idea that they watch movies about humans, like those are their versions of monster movies. And then a bunch of different ideas for like ads in newspapers. And especially the tabloids. I love the Bermuda Triangle closes doors, thousands out of work. So you just get to see a bunch of really cool monster gags. There's a Marilyn Monroe, and then there's the one from the cover where the guy has 3 tongues and he's eating an ice cream cone with three scoops. And then we get into Monsters University. I thought it was a pretty enjoyable film. I know it's not one of the most beloved ones, and it's kind of from, you know, what people consider Pixar's, you know, iffy decade. But personally, I enjoyed it. That Mike would confuse a bowl full of salsa for his contact lens. And then streaking at the college. And then a prank. There's a few different pages of pranks in here. And one of them is that they replaced one of the dorm doors, or frat house doors actually, with the door for a child's closet. City Demolishing 101 for the bigger monsters. And then we get into Finding Nemo. And see, here's some more of that dark sense of humor, where they're watching a cooking show, and apparently someone in the tank went to school with him. Yeah, this book is just really great. If you want to get into storyboarding or animation in general, if you want to get into animation and comics at all, I say definitely grab this book. It's fantastic, and you can learn a lot from it. See, now we're into it, The Incredibles. Yeah, and the idea that invisibility, you were invisible, but the food isn't. So you're just watching, like, mashed up carrots be digested. And then now we get into Cars. And then here we see a bunch of different, like a nude car beach. So you're completely missing the chassis, and it's just, the axles and the eyes and the motors have a mint where they trade air fresheners. There's a Mr. T van. I would honestly want to see that. I want to see that one. I don't know if they came up with the idea while they were making Cars 2, or they did it later on. But for some of you might not know, Cars had a series of short films that were specifically about the Cars universe, and each, I think they were called Cars Toons, or Cartoons, and each one was about Mater telling a story of like, hey, this crazy thing happened in my life. And he's telling this whole story about something that happened in his past. I used to be a clown car, or I used to, work with the planes, or I used to do all this other crazy stuff. And I think a couple of these wound up in those. I know there was one where he was like, yeah, I met an alien once. And it was just the little UFO, like the flying saucer. So I don't know if they got the idea for those shorts from the whole camouflage, or in disguise. Like there's a whole bit in Cars 2 about where he switches from different disguises. I don't know if they got the idea for those shorts from that scene, or if they just came up with it later. But I do think it's an interesting through line that both in the film and in those shorts, they were basically just, what alternate Maters can we make? And then here we get into Ratatouille, it's probably my most favorite movie that they've done, just because I love the entire message of it, and the entire metaphor for creativity and, doing what you love. And there's a lot of different gags in here, different ways they were running. One of the best scenes in it, of course, is at the very end, when Remy's, the colony helps him cook food in the kitchen. And so that's what a lot of these are gags for. And then the brother Emile. I do like this one. These portions are getting smaller all the time. Meanwhile, one of the rats is hiding in the cover for the dish, and he ate the whole thing as it was being brought to the patron. And then here we get into Wally, so you get a different... a lot of the gags include his little roach friend. I can't remember if he had a name or not. But yeah, like Eve finds a bottle of Raid. He sprays some WD-40 on him. There's just a lot of really good gags in here. Like Wally taking him out for playing fetch and taking him out for a walk. And then some of the robots on the ship. And then he... Up. His wife dies. Just very direct and very to the point. And this specifically... See, I think he did a couple more in here. But this right here, this specific image, is from Patrick McDonnell. And if you read newspaper comics, he is the cartoonist who makes the Mutts comic strip. So it's just really interesting to see that somebody from newspaper comics who does a strip that I love so much did a little bit of work on Up. So there he is. There's Patrick McDonnell from Mutts. There's Russell signing Carl's will as Carl. And then a few different, Carl lands on a branch. They get separated by a chasm. Just all sorts of fun, different things. And then we get to Brave. And all the different bear contraptions and bear themed, knickknacks and stuff like that. And something you'll also notice is that as through the years, way back in, the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of these were done with, traditional means, with pen and paper and markers and crayons and color pencils. And as you get further into the book and later on in the years, you'll notice some of these are done digitally. Let's see, like a couple of these are still old-fashioned, or not old-fashioned, but done with traditional mediums. And then you get over here, and then a lot of it is done digitally, just because this was around the time when digital production was becoming a little bit more, what's the word, like, available to the public, I guess you could say, a little bit more readily available. Because for years, obviously, it's Pixar. They're one of the people that invented digital animation. But, of course, Cintiqs and iPads weren't necessarily a common thing back then. But now that you can just do all of this basically on your phone, you wind up with a lot of story moments that are, done digitally. And so here we are with Inside Out. And then here are some of the, for Hollywood, the Dream Hollywood area, that they have like mocap screenings, and that the different, like they have to be cast for their parts. And then here we see some of Riley's, memories, different story moments that may have gone on in her past. And then I think this is the final one of the book, The Good Dinosaur. Yeah, because 2015. Yeah, this would have been right around then. So we get down to The Good Dinosaur, and we see some of the different gags of, that may not have made it into the movie, but we see them here. And then, yeah, right there. It'll tell you throughout the book, whether it was done traditionally or digital, what tools they used to make these. So again, here we are with a little bit more digital, where basically Arlo and Spot, or Arlo dresses as Spot, basically, with a little grass skirt and everything. They punch each other in the crotch for a little bit. They have like a mud fight. And then, what if there was like a lumberjack? They basically act as lumberjacks the way they clear trees in the film. But they were just like, what if we give him a hat and like the plaid lumberjack, and then using a cracked egg shell as a spittoon. And then we get the acknowledgement. So all the different filmmakers and artists and everybody who worked at Pixar, and also, were featured throughout the book. And again, and here, for anybody else who has worked in any kind of production, you can pretty much, I think we can all agree that this is kind of how it can be sometimes. During production, you just get stressed out and you want to beat each other up. But when you're at the wrap party, you're just full of love and just like, oh man, I knew we could do it, after being at each other's throats for a little bit there. And again, if you want to get into animation, or if you want to make comics, or if you're just looking for, something to help you learn to draw, definitely pick up this book. It'll get you in the mindset to, just quickly scribble something out. One of the best ways to get better at drawing and get better at storytelling especially is to just, put your ideas down and let them happen. Even if it's not a good idea, even if it's not a fully formed idea, that's what this book is all about, is just getting the ideas out, having fun with it, and seeing where it leads. Yeah, so just be quick. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about being 100% clear. Just get those ideas out on the page. Get your story ideas out, get your character ideas out. Just doodle it and have fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe for future videos, all that good stuff. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel and the different comics that I do in Wyattoons, be sure to go to patreon.com/Wyattoons. There's all sorts of cool rewards and stuff you can get, different level tiers and everything. It's a good time, and it helps keep everything running smoothly. Also, be sure to keep an eye out, because this month, November 2019, is going to be Pokemon themed for all the Wyatt Draws videos. With Pokemon Sword and Shield out, I want to draw some Pokemon stuff. So be sure to subscribe for that and to watch those videos when they come out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Wyatt, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.